Hello and welcome to this short video. In this short video I will be making a pulley rig, one of the most simple and common ways to target bigger fish. Yes, so I am going to do this my way, and my way is often cheaper and quicker. This rig is in no way inferior to any other builds you've seen. In fact, it is probably a little bit better. And what you will need to build this is some monofilament. Right, depending on where you're fishing in the world, you will need a different diameter. 80 pound is a good place to start. Some people use 60 and 50, but I'd say 80 is a good standpoint. And not all manufacturers have the same diameter line. Just say Virivas would have thinner 60 pound than Suffolk's, for instance, and they do. And in which case I would recommend going up if it's for a rig. It's very good for leaders. It's nice and thin, good braking strength. But rigs take damage because they're in contact with the ground. I would generally just go with 80 pound standard. The fish aren't going to know. And if you were going to venture to Norway, for instance, I wouldn't go any less than 100. 80 will do most of the time, but it will bite you in the bum eventually. And depending on your preference, you will need either 1 or 2 hooks, or possibly even more if you're a complete savage. These are Mustad Uptide Vikings. They're really nice hooks, and they will rust out of a fish's face if you have to leave it in there. Okay, other than that, you will need either a swivel or a pulley bead. Yes. Okay, there are many on the market and they claim to do all sorts of things. It's ridiculous how flash they've become. Fished with just swivels for years. These are marginally better, but I wouldn't really think that much about it. They invest far too much in these little components and stuff. There is nothing out there that is going to help you catch a fish that much better if you spend a few quid on it. Just a swivel will do, and if you can get those, get them. Right, simple. Then you will need a bead. This one is 4mm. Okay, it must not fit through the eye of the swivel that you're using, i.e. the bead, the pulley bead. Right, if this was just a swivel, that can't fit through it. Okay, otherwise you're toast. Right, and then you will need a swivel. Right, it is a power swivel, might I say. Right, so it is extremely strong. I think it's a size 4, and a lead link. Right, if you're going to be using small swivels for this type of thing, get power swivels. They're immensely strong and they will cut down on the drag on your rig, the drag of the tide, everything. Right, they are worth the money. They are a little bit more expensive, but they will not explode. If you fish with a standard crane swivel, if you are a big caster, 150 meters or something like that, over a few sessions, eventually that swivel will explode when it hits the water and you won't get your rig back. Simple as that. So power swivels are a great investment, although they are expensive. And that will bring me on to something else in this build. Right, you only need half as many swivels as you would normally. Okay, just say you build 10 rigs, you're going to save 10 swivels. Simple as that. So first of all, I'm going to start with the bottom, and that is going to be the lead link. Okay, if the rig moves and you don't have a swivel on the bottom, it will tangle up on you, so put a swivel on it. This is something that will make your life easier. Okay, and then I'm going to use a 4-turn grinner. It's a simple, easy knot. Anybody can do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can actually do it with your eyes closed if you really must. Okay, that's it. Get it down there slowly. You can use rig pullers. I mean, they're pretty good, but you have to buy them as well. There we go. Or if you have a sinker with a clip on it, you can just use that instead. That's generally what I do when I'm on the beach and I haven't got a rig puller with me. So cut the tag, leave yourself a couple of millimeters insurance. So if the knot slips, you won't lose your sinker or it won't come off and hit somebody or something. So now I've got the bottom tied on, and if you've been watching any of my other videos, this is how I measure how long the rig should be. It's my height, right? If you do this and you're 12 foot tall, you'll end up with a 12-foot rig. You get my meaning? If you're 2 inches tall, you'll end up with a 2-inch rig. Okay, simple. So that way it's tailored to your size when you're casting. Or you can make them smaller, but don't make them bigger. Don't make them bigger. Clippity clip, on to the next bit. Then you take your pulley bead. This attaches to the leader on the rod. Then you take your bead. Yes. And now, guess what you do now? Can you guess? Can you? You tie the hooks on, that's right. So there are many fancy versions to do a panel rig if you like. And there are many ways just to do it easily. Fish for years just with a standard method of doing it. You just put it through the eye of the hook and you wrap it around like that, right? That's it, simply. And the panel rig is for fishing long baits. So if you're fishing a short bait, just use a circle hook and a dingle dangle, or just one J hook, either with the bait on this or on a dingle dangle. And I'm just going to secure that last hook there. Same knot again. Now I'm using this knot in particular because it's one of the easiest knots you can use when you're first getting into tying your own rigs. And so I like it for that. It's just simple. It's the first knot I learned when I was fishing as well. Now we are here, right? Lead link, swivel, pulley bead, bead, hooks. What is different between this method of tying a pulley rig and the normal way of tying a pulley rig is it is missing a swivel in the middle, okay? That swivel is no longer there. And people use this as two things, right? Both a swivel and a stop knot. But you can dispense of one of them, and one of them is the swivel, right? So you just replace it with a stop knot. Now you don't have as many fail points in your rig as you did before. Now you've got 2, before you had 4, because there's 2 knots either side of the swivel. That means that's 2 more chances for it to break if you catch an unreasonably sized fish, right? This will handle it a lot better, okay? So then connect your lead weight on the end of it, right? This is something I do with circle hooks. I just bend the tail a little bit, and this allows extra room for a bait. Then I take the hook and I put them on the bait clip. A lot of people cut these short, so the hook is held in the bait clip by the weight of the sinker, and that actually is not such a great idea. If you've got a side wind and the rig has a low trajectory through the air, it will not unclip when it hits the seafloor or the surface of the water. But if you do it the way I'm going to show you now, it will always unclip, and you won't have any need for any of these mechanical bait clips that are so popular these days. So now I'm just going to tie a stop knot with the same mono, right? This is the figure of 8 knot. I will link it in the description. So you can tie it virtually anywhere on the hook side of the main hook length in front of the bead and the pulley bead. Now I'm just going to place this, the main line of the rig, on my finger, and then I'm going to go around it 3 times with the figure of 8 knot to tie the stop knot. So that's once, twice, 3 times through the back, open it up. You just have to pull it a little bit, and so that's it right there. Now it's super adjustable. Now if you're working at home, you'd be better off to hang this rig up and do it, but you can do it this way as well. And so when you're happy with the tension and the fact that the pulley bead up the top is level, right, you can tighten down on your stop knot. Now it is tight, trim back your tags, and since I've already measured this, I'm going to put a drop of super glue on this and it will not move, right? So there we have it, basic pulley rig, right? And an old YouTuber, he's no longer making videos anymore, he showed me a trick with these. If you turn this upside down, it becomes a running ledger, and that's basically what it is. So a pulley rig is actually 2 things, and if you need to change the way it's fishing that day, you can just tie, if you have one, a relay clip onto the end of your leader, and then you've got an up and over rig. It is a super versatile thing, okay? It is a fantastic rig, and you can see there what I mean about that tail wire, right? It just gives you an extra bit of room, right, for that bait, so the sinker does not push it off the bait clip. Okay, that's all it does, and it sits completely level, right? Fantastic stuff. Yes, of course, if you bend it too far, you're going to mess with the symmetry of the whole thing, right? So just a little bit and you'll be grand. And if it isn't sitting level, just bend it in a little bit. But it will allow you to get a bigger bait out without it unclipping. And this will also save you money, because then you can stop buying the clips that I was talking about earlier on. Maybe you like them, that's okay. But I think they're unnecessary and they cause me extra expense, so it's not something I'm interested in. Every penny you save can buy you more bait, more diesel, more accommodation, right? Every penny you save can get you somewhere else catching better fish than you were normally. If you live in a place where you're completely happy with it, well, all well and good. But me, I was never pleased. So that's it. I fish this way because it saves me money, right? And it's a perfectly good rig, and it's stronger than normal. If you were thinking to yourself that the removal of that swivel there is going to cause you some problems, it's not going to, because you have the one on the bottom, which actually makes the rig twist, right? Because the lead weight is in contact with the sea floor, and as it moves, if it moves, it will twist the line up, right? Most fish you catch generally don't spin, right? Ones that you catch with baits. I don't know one except the conger reel. And then in which case, a conger rig is something else. I'll link that in the description if that's something that you need or want. Right, more swivels is always better with conger reels. Always. But for this type of thing, codling, cod, halibut, whatever you've got going, pollock, whatever, or even sometimes flatfish. I've fished for place in Denmark for years with pulley rigs, just to get that extra distance and make the bait a little bit bigger. We weren't fishing for numbers, we were fishing for big ones, right? You can even use a pulley rig for like flatfish, big place and stuff like that. Obviously, we weren't using these hooks. We were using 2.0 and 3.0 in a panel configuration as well, with just worms, ragworm and mackerel and stuff like that. Big place like fish, right, as well. So that's it there, the pulley rig. Yes, quick, easy and simple. So I'm Billy, this is Billy in Tenerife, this is Billy Tying Rigs. Wherever you are in the world, remember, I'll see you at the beach. Bye.